Hey man, welcome back with another video. Today we are reacting to a Reddit story type. Let's get into it. Okay.
At 17, my adopted sister accused me of getting her pregnant. My family
Come
disowned
back
me,
well.
my girlfriend left, and I vanished. 10 years later, the truth came out, and they showed up crying at my door. I didn't answer. Hey, Reddit, I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to write something like this. But after what happened 10 years ago, I guess I just need to get it out somewhere people might actually listen. My family erased me overnight because of one lie. And now, after everything, the truth finally came out. I'm not here for pity. I just want to tell you how it all went down. I, Jackson, 27 male, was 17 the night my life ended without me dying. My family was having one of those big
Bar.
Saturday dinners. Grandparents, uncles, cousins, the whole group. My parents loved putting on a show when the house was full. Mom was
Okay.
always in her element when there were eyes on her, talking loud, bragging about how our family sticks together.
That's
Dad
my one of
grilled
my
meat
answer.
outside while my brother and I hauled chairs from the garage. And then there was Anne,
This
my
one.
adopted sister. My parents brought her in when she was 8 because they always wanted a girl. She fit right in from day one. Quiet, polite, shy. I used to help her with homework, taught her how to ride a bike, even defended her when kids teased her for being adopted.
Okay,
I never
okay.
thought of her as anything but my sister. That night, she was acting off. She wasn't eating, kept fidgeting with her hands. I figured maybe she was sick or just tired. After dinner, when everyone was in the living room, she stood up out of nowhere, shaking, and said she needed to tell everyone something. I remember the sound of her voice. It cracked like she was about to cry. Then she said it. Jackson. He forced me. It didn't even register. Everyone froze. The room went silent except for the clock ticking. My brain didn't process it at first. I thought she meant something else. Maybe a joke gone wrong. Maybe she was confused. Then she added, I'm pregnant. My dad's hand was on me before I could say a word. His fist connected with my face so hard that everything went white. I hit the floor, my teeth buzzing, ears ringing. My mom started screaming like someone had died. My brother stood there shaking his head, muttering, Jackson, what the hell is wrong with you? You're disgusting. Dad, I didn't. I tried, but the next hit came before I could finish.
Damn.
You sick bastard,
Throwing them
he
bitches.
yelled, face red, eyes wild. You brought shame to this family. Anne was crying into Mom's arms, trembling, saying she was scared. My aunt pulled her close, whispering, It's okay, sweetie. You're safe now. My brother, Jake, stepped forward, spit landing right by my shoe. Get out, he snarled. You don't deserve to breathe the same air as us. I looked around at all the faces, people I'd known my whole life. Not one of them looked at me like family anymore, just disgust. I said, She's lying. My voice cracked. I swear on my life, she's lying. No one cared. My mom screamed, Don't even say her name. Don't talk to her. Someone, I think my uncle, called the police. By the time the officers showed up, I was sitting on the porch, bleeding from my mouth. One of them asked my dad if I was the suspect, and he nodded without looking at me. They didn't even cuff me rough. They could see I was just some kid who looked half dead. But still, riding in that back seat with the sirens echoing felt like being buried alive. At the station, they asked questions I could barely understand. When did it happen? What were you doing that night? Did she say no? I kept repeating, It never happened. None of it. They didn't book me. There was no proof, no nothing. They let me go in the morning. I remember one of them saying the words statutory case under his breath.
What
Anne
does
was
that mean?
16, I was 17, barely a year apart, but they still had to ask every question in the book. They took statements, called in a social services rep, even checked timelines from our phones. In the end, there was nothing to hold me on, so they sent me home with a warning to stay available for more questions. But when I stepped outside, the world already knew. Our town wasn't big. By sunrise, half of it had already decided I was guilty. I didn't go home right away.
Damn, like that?
I walked around until my legs gave out. When I finally got back, all my stuff was piled on the front lawn. Clothes, school books, even my backpack. My dad stood by the door like a guard. Get out, he said. His voice wasn't angry this time, just cold. You're done here. Dad, please. You know me. I would never. Don't call me that. You're not my son anymore. I tried to reach for my mom through the doorway. She turned her face away, clutching Anne like she was the victim of a crime scene. Jake slammed the door behind them. I stood there. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely pick up my bag. That night, my phone buzzed. It was Emma, my girlfriend. We'd been together a year. She knew me better than anyone. She whispered through tears, I believe you, Jack. I swear I do. But my parents, they won't let me talk to you. They think it's true. They said if I ever see you again, they'll call the cops. Please don't do this, I said. She sobbed. I'm sorry. I can't. I can't lose them. Then she hung up. I stared at the phone screen until it went black. That was the last time I ever heard her voice. I sat in my car the rest of the night behind a gas station 2 towns over. I
That's
stared at
wild.
the cracked windshield, watching rain streak down in crooked lines. In less than 12 hours, I'd gone from a normal kid with a family, a girlfriend, a future, to a criminal in everyone's eyes.
Fuck
Every
'em
time
all.
headlights passed
Fuck it.
by, I thought it was my dad's truck, thought he'd drag me back to finish what he started. But no one came. When the sun finally came up, I looked at myself in the rearview mirror. My face was bruised, my shirt still had blood on it, and I realized something simple but final. No one was coming to save me. And that's when it hit me. My family hadn't just kicked me out, they erased me. That thought sat in my chest like a stone. As I drove through the night, I didn't have a plan or a map, just the clothes on my back, a backpack, and $200 I'd had in my wallet. I drove until the gas light blinked red. The engine coughed near a sign that said, Welcome to Maplewood. I didn't care where I was. I pulled into a parking lot behind a row of stores, the kind that looked half abandoned. My hands were shaking from hunger and cold. I'd been living off vending machine chips for days. A help wanted sign was taped to a diner window across the street. I stood there staring at it, trying to build the courage to walk in. The bell above the door jingled when I entered. A man stood behind the counter, broad shoulders, gray beard, deep lines in his face. Can I help you? He said, voice rough like gravel. I saw the sign, I said. I can wash dishes. Do anything, really. He looked me over. My clothes were wrinkled. My shoes still had mud from the roadside. You ever worked in a
He
kitchen?
came in here rough.
No, sir. He grunted. You look hungry. I'm fine, I lied. He sighed and nodded toward the back. Name's Andy. Sink's in there. You start now. You get a meal after your shift. That was it. No questions, no paperwork, just work. The kitchen was small,
Johnny
loud,
Bet.
and hot. I scrubbed plates and pans until my hands went raw. The first meal Andy gave me was a half-eaten burger and fries from a customer who didn't finish. I didn't care. I devoured it like I hadn't eaten in weeks. When closing time came, I tried to hand him back the plate, saying I'd find somewhere to sleep. Andy wiped his hands and said, There's a room upstairs. Ain't pretty, but it's got a bed and a lock. You can work it off. That was the first act of kindness I'd had in weeks. The room was small, maybe 10 feet across, with a stained mattress, a flickering bulb, and wallpaper peeling from the corners. But it was a roof, and the floor didn't move under me. I collapsed on the bed and slept for 14 hours straight.
Damn.
Over the next few days, I fell into a rhythm. Andy didn't talk much, but he'd grunt things like, good job. Those words meant more than any apology I'd ever gotten. One night, about 2 weeks in, I came downstairs to lock up and found Andy sitting at the counter reading the newspaper. He looked up at me and said, Kid, what's your story? I froze. What do you mean? Got a customer in here today. Some trucker passing through. Said he saw your picture in a paper a couple towns over. Some family thing. My stomach dropped. I started shaking. That's not what it looks like. It's a lie. My sister, my adopted sister, she made it up. I swear I never... Andy raised a hand. Calm down, kid. I don't care what they say. I blinked at him. You don't? He leaned
Blinked
back
at him.
on the stool. Everybody's got a story. You're here, working. That's what matters. Keep your head down, do your job, and rebuild your life. The rest will sort itself out. It took a second for those words to sink in. For the first time since that night, I didn't feel like a monster. That night, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the cracked wall, trying to process it. Andy didn't know me, but he still gave me a chance. My own family couldn't do that. One night, I was looking at my contact list on my phone. I hesitated before calling home, but I needed to hear my mother's voice. Maybe enough time had passed. Maybe they'd realized the truth. She answered on the third ring. Mom, it's me, I said quietly. Silence. Jackson? Yeah. I just wanted you to know I'm okay. I found a job. Don't call here again, she said.
Damn.
Her voice cracked. Your father doesn't even want your name spoken in this house. Then she hung up. I stared at
That's
the phone until the
crazy.
screen dimmed. That was the last time I ever tried. Weeks turned into months. I worked double shifts and saved what little I could. Andy started teaching me small things. How to fix a leaking pipe, patch a vent, check a thermostat. Learn to fix things, kid. It's the only way to survive, he'd say. One night after closing,
You don't lie.
curiosity got me. I searched Anne's name. There she was. Smiling in pictures, belly round, family around her holding pink balloons that said, It's a girl. My mother stood beside her, proud, holding a cake shaped like a baby carriage. My brother was in the corner of the photo, smiling like nothing ever happened. My throat burned.
Fuck him.
My stomach twisted so bad I had to close the laptop. Then I decided I'd never be Jackson Smith again. After that night, something in me switched off. No more trying to
Yeah.
explain. No more hoping someone would come around. I was done being the version of me they buried. I threw myself into work at the diner. I'd be there before sunrise and leave long after closing. I fixed leaky faucets, cleaned grease traps, learned how to replace filters in the old air vents. Andy noticed. One afternoon, while I was unclogging the sink with half my arm down the drain, he said, "You ever thought about learning this stuff for real?" I looked up, confused. "Like plumbing?" He chuckled. "Nah, bigger. Heating, cooling, air systems. HVAC. People always need heat or cold, kid. That skill feeds you forever." The way he said it stuck with me. I was tired of scrubbing plates. I wanted something that lasted, something that couldn't be taken from me. A few weeks later, Andy handed me a flyer from the community college down the highway. "Night classes," he said, sliding it across the counter. "You'd be good at it. You pay what you can. I'll cover the rest until you're on your feet." I stared at the paper for a long time. Nobody had ever offered to help me like that before. Not even my real family. I signed up the next day. The first few months were brutal. I'd work 10-hour shifts at the diner, then catch the bus to night school, fighting to stay awake through lectures about compressors and coils. Every time I fixed something, when cold air came out of a vent, when a broken unit roared back to life, it gave me a rush. Like I was fixing myself piece by piece. Andy kept pushing me. "Don't just get good," he said. "Get so good they can't ignore you." By the time I earned my GED, I was already halfway through the HVAC program. I started doing small repair jobs on the side. Andy's house, the diner's vents, a few regular customers. When the certificate came in the mail, Andy hung it in the diner's hallway like it was his own kid's diploma. "Not bad for a runaway," he said, patting my shoulder.
Thanks.
I laughed, even though it still hurt to hear that word. With Andy's help, I saved enough to buy a used pickup and a set of secondhand tools. I quit the diner and started working full-time for a local HVAC company. One summer afternoon, a coworker named Derek got accused
That's a new dad now. You hear me? This camera, man, this camera pissed me off.
of stealing cash from a client's kitchen counter. The boss was ready to fire him on the spot. Something about the look on Derek's face, the same panic I'd seen in the mirror 10 years ago, made me step in. "Check the vent," I said. Everyone stared at me. I climbed up, pulled the cover off, and sure enough, the envelope had been sucked halfway into the duct from the return air. The client had probably set it too close to the vent. Derek almost cried. The boss apologized to the client. Afterward, Derek shook my hand like I'd saved his life. Andy heard about it through a supplier and called me that night. "Good job, kid," he said. "You didn't just fix air, you fixed a mess." That's what separates men from mechanics. That stuck with me. Years passed like that. Work, sleep, eat, work again. It was simple, predictable, safe. But sometimes at night, when I got home, I'd feel this hollow space inside me, like there was a whole other life still buried somewhere. One night, while doing invoices, I opened an old account I hadn't touched in years. My hands shook when I logged into social media. I shouldn't have done it. There they were, my family, smiling, laughing, and standing in front of a birthday cake with a little girl, her daughter, who looked about 10. My mother was there, holding her, my dad's arm around them like nothing had ever happened. My brother standing in the background, grinning like he didn't spit at my feet once. The caption read, "Happy birthday to our miracle girl. Family is everything. Family." I scrolled through the photos until my chest hurt. Anne looked happy,
Why are you watching?
radiant, like someone who'd never ruined a person's life. I closed the laptop and sat there in the dark, shaking. For years, I'd imagined them falling apart without me. But they didn't. They just replaced me. That night, I sat in my truck in the parking lot after my shift and made a decision. I went home, deleted every old account, every trace of the name Smith. I cut ties with the past, like cutting a loose wire. By morning, I filed the paperwork for a legal name change, Jackson Winter. It was my grandmother's maiden name, the only person who ever showed me real kindness before all this. When the new ID arrived weeks later, I stared at it for a long time. The picture looked different somehow. Stronger, harder, not a boy anymore. That was the day I stopped running from what they did to me and started building something they could never destroy. 10 years later, I had my own company, Winter Heating and Air. Just a couple of vans, 3 employees, and a steady list of clients who trusted my work. We weren't fancy, but we were reliable. Life had finally leveled out. It was early summer when everything cracked open again. I was fixing an old air unit behind a bakery, sweat running down my back, when my phone started buzzing nonstop in my pocket. Unknown number, hometown area code. I ignored it twice. The third time, it wouldn't stop. I wiped my hands and answered. Yeah, this is winter. There was
Wow.
silence for a second. Winter heating
happened?
and air. Just a couple of vans, 3 employees, and a steady list of clients who trusted my work. We weren't fancy, but we were reliable. Life had finally leveled out. It was early summer when everything cracked open again. I was fixing an old air unit behind a bakery, sweat running down my back, when my phone started buzzing nonstop in my pocket. Unknown number, hometown area code. I ignored it twice. The third time, it wouldn't stop. I wiped my hands and answered. Yeah, this is winter. There was silence for a second. Then a voice I hadn't heard in over a decade. Jackson? My chest tightened.
Don't know who that is.
Who's this? It's me, Emma. I
Fuck is
froze.
that Emma?
For a second, everything around me, the fan noise, the street sounds, disappeared. Emma? How did you... She sighed. I know, I shouldn't call, but I thought you should hear this from someone who actually believes you. That sentence alone made my throat close up. She continued. Anne's been arrested. I blinked. Arrested? For what? For lying, she said. For accusing another guy the same way she did to you. I leaned against the van, dizzy. She... What? The guy she accused this time fought back. He got a lawyer. All of it. Turns out she made up the whole story again. And during the investigation, she confessed to the first one. To you. She said she lied back then too. The words hit like a sledgehammer. I'd imagined hearing something like that for years, but it didn't feel like I thought it would. There wasn't relief, just silence. Emma kept talking, her voice shaking. She told the police she got pregnant after a one-night stand with a local drug dealer named Vernon. He disappeared when she told him. She panicked and blamed you because you were there, and everyone believed her. Jackson, they cleared your name. Officially. I couldn't speak. My hand went numb holding the phone. She hesitated. I just thought you should know. I'm sorry it took this long. Thank you, I finally said, my voice low. Before I could say more, she whispered, I'm married now. Kids. But I never forgot what they did to you. I smiled faintly, though she couldn't see it. You were the only one who believed me, Emma. You don't have to feel bad for that. We talked for another minute. Awkward, but soft. Then she said goodbye, and that was it. I sat in the van for almost an hour afterward, staring at the steering wheel. I didn't know if I wanted to scream, cry, or laugh. My name was cleared, but 10 years too late. By morning, the calls started. Private numbers, then emails. My company inbox even got one with the subject line, please call us back.
No,
Curiosity got the better of me once. I answered a number I didn't recognize. Jackson, a shaky voice said. I knew that voice immediately. My mother. Don't hang up, please, she said quickly. Anne told the police everything. We didn't know. I hung up. They didn't know. They didn't care to know. Later that week, a local newspaper reached out for a statement. I said nothing. I wasn't interested in headlines or pity. I wanted something better. Silence. But silence didn't last. My brother emailed me next, saying he'd been young and stupid and hoped we could start over. My dad left a voicemail. We just want to see you, son. We made mistakes. Mistakes? Number. Mistakes are when you forget someone's birthday. What they did was a choice. So instead of replying, I wrote letters. Not the kind they expected. No forgiveness, no soft words, just truth. I told them about every night I slept in my car, shivering. About the moldy room above the diner. About Andy, the stranger who gave me shelter when my own family threw me away. I told them how it felt to burn my school ID because their names made me sick. How it felt to see photos of them smiling around Anne and her daughter while I was washing grease pans for scraps. I told them they didn't just ruin my reputation. They killed my home, my trust, and every bit of peace I might have had left. I ended every letter the same way. You didn't believe me when I told the truth. Now you can live with it. I never mailed them. I just stacked the letters in a shoebox and left them in my desk drawer. That night, as I sat in my workshop going through invoices, I looked around. The tools, the vans, the company name painted on the walls. All built by my own hands. Everything I'd lost was gone for good, but everything I'd built couldn't be taken from me. For the first time in years, I didn't feel erased. I felt written again. Not by them, but by me. But peace doesn't stay quiet for long. Once the truth about Anne spread through town, the same people who threw me away suddenly remembered I existed. It started with a knock on my office door one afternoon. I was fixing a thermostat unit on my desk when I heard someone call my name Jackson. I froze. I turned, and there she was, my mom.
Nah,
She
hell
looked
no.
smaller,
You had to get
older,
out.
like someone had drained the life out of her. Her hair was gray at the roots, her hands shaking as she held a
Dracula.
casserole dish covered in foil. I made your favorite, she said softly. Chicken and rice.
You think that she gonna win me back, nigga? Fuck out of my face.
You used to love it.
Go
For a
ahead,
second,
go,
I
get
couldn't
the fuck
move.
out.
The smell hit me and my stomach twisted. I remembered the last time she'd cooked it, the night before everything blew up. I stood up slowly. Why are you here? Tears filled her eyes. I just want to see you. To say sorry. We were
Bitch,
wrong.
You
And
told me
lied.
not to call you.
We know that now. I leaned against the counter. You're 10 years too late. She wiped her nose. I didn't know what to believe back then. She was crying and your father. I cut her off.
You don't know what to believe, but you believed everybody but your son. Even if you didn't know what to believe, do what my mom does. When she had to hear both y'all shit until one of them starts to make more sense than the other. You feel me?
You didn't even ask me. You didn't let me speak. You kicked me out and told me never to call again. She stepped closer. Please, Jack, don't call me that, I snapped. You lost that right. She flinched, like the words hit her physically. I pointed at the door. You should go. She hesitated, setting the casserole on the counter. At least eat this, please. I stared at it.
No, nigga.
Throw it out when you leave. When the door closed behind her, I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just nothing. 2 days later, my dad showed up. I was out on a service call when I saw him waiting outside the office, leaning against his truck like he owned the place.
Man, I
He
would
smiled
two-piece
like
his
we just had a
motherfucking ass.
regular argument years ago. Hey, son. I didn't answer. You've done good for yourself, he
Yeah,
said,
fuck you.
looking around. Business, trucks, employees. I'm proud of you. Get to the point, I said. He shifted his jaw. Your mother's not doing great. She cries every day. I figured maybe if we all sat down, cleared the air. Cleared the air? I almost laughed. You beat me and threw me out. You left me homeless. You cleared the air that night when you told me I wasn't your son. He sighed, frustrated. I was angry. You have to understand, it was a different time. Things looked bad. So you hit first, asked questions never. His face
Facts.
tightened. You don't have to keep holding on to hate, son. I'm not holding on to hate, I said, pulling out my phone. I'm holding on to self-respect. He frowned. What are you? I pressed a button. Security. I've got someone trespassing at the front.
Yeah.
Big guy in a red jacket. His expression changed instantly. You're calling security
family
on
no
your
more,
own
nigga?
father?
I don't know
You're
you.
not my father, I said. You're a stranger who ruined my life. The security guard from the next building came over a few minutes later, asked him to leave. Dad muttered curses all the way to his truck, slammed the door, and peeled out of the lot. When the silence returned, I just sat there at my desk, staring at the same spot he'd stood. Meanwhile, bits of gossip reached me through old contacts. My family was falling apart.
Good.
Dad had lost his job at the plant after yelling at a supervisor.
Good.
Word was he'd nearly gotten arrested for it.
Damn.
Mom barely left the house. Neighbors said she was sickly and not herself anymore.
Oh well.
My brother's wife had taken their kids and moved in with her parents after finding out what happened years ago.
That's good.
Everything they built, every illusion of being the perfect family, was cracking. People love to say karma takes its time. I'd say it arrived right on schedule. One afternoon, my employee Kevin came into the office with a small box. Hey boss, this was sitting outside the door, he said. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. My name, Jackson
Burn
Smith,
them up.
written on every one in shaky
Don't go by
handwriting.
that name no more.
No return address. I didn't have to open them to know who they were from. My mom had always been dramatic about handwriting. I carried the box into the back room, set it on a shelf above the storage bins, and walked away. That night, I sat in my office and I looked up at the window where those letters sat. I thought about all the words inside, probably apologies, excuses, maybe Bible verses about forgiveness. But forgiveness is a luxury for people who didn't spend nights sleeping in their car, wondering why no one believed them. I didn't want closure. I wanted distance. So I left the letters sealed. Every last one. I kept them in that box, locked away. They wanted forgiveness because it made them feel lighter. Not because they deserved it. They didn't want me. They wanted redemption. And I wasn't giving it to them. I looked up at the sky and muttered to myself, they erased me once. Now I erase them forever. I thought that was it. The end. But the past has a way of finding cracks to crawl through. It was 3 months later when I got the letter. Plain white envelope. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Ann Williams requests to meet with you at Maple Ridge Correctional Facility. For a long time, I just stared at it. Her name looked wrong on paper, like it didn't belong in my life anymore. I threw it in the trash, then pulled it out, then threw it away again. But
Mm.
the thought stuck.
Spin
For
bitches.
10 years, I'd imagined what I'd say to her if I ever saw her again. Maybe it was time to find out. So a week later, I drove out to the prison. It was 2 hours away, in the middle of nowhere. The guard at the front scanned my ID, buzzed me through, and led me into a gray visiting room that smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. I sat down at a metal table, my hands flat against the surface. Other people around me whispered quietly. Wives, kids, parents, all of them visiting people they still cared about. I wasn't one of them. Then she walked in. Anne. I barely recognized her. She was thinner, almost fragile looking. Her skin was pale, hair pulled back tight, face lined and tired.
You know
The
that ass
girl who
whoop?
once cried in front of our family, clutching her stomach and calling me a monster, looked like a ghost now. She sat down across from me, eyes flicking up once before falling to the table. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. I didn't answer. She twisted her hands in her lap. "You look different," she said after a moment. "Older." "You look guilty," I said. Her eyes filled instantly. I deserved
Hold
that
on.
answer. She twisted her hands in her lap. "You look different," she
Oh,
said
okay.
after a
She said you
moment.
look different.
"Older." "You look guilty," I said. Her eyes filled instantly. "I deserve that." "No," I said calmly. "You deserve worse." She nodded slowly, tears already building. "I know. And I'm sorry. For everything. For lying.
Damn,
For
you're
ruining
sorry
your
now,
life.
but you weren't sorry
For all of
before.
it." "Why?" I asked. My voice came out low but steady. "Why me?" She looked down, voice trembling. "Because you were safe to blame. You were quiet. You never fought anyone. I knew everyone would believe me because you were, you know, the good one, the easy one. And I panicked. I leaned forward. You panicked? So you destroyed my life? You panicked? So you made your own brother the villain?" Her shoulders shook. "I didn't think it would go that far. I thought maybe you'd just deny it, and people would forget, and I'd get
Fuck
sympathy
no.
until I figured something out." "Sympathy," I repeated.
That's not how
"You
life
got
goes,
that.
my nigga.
You got a house full of people loving you, protecting you, throwing parties for you while I slept in a car behind a gas station." She pressed her palms to her eyes. I know what I did. Vernon." She stopped, her breath catching. "Vernon was the guy who really got me pregnant. He was a dealer. I slept with him once. When I told him I was pregnant, he laughed, said I was crazy, said if I told anyone, he'd disappear. And he did. I didn't know what to do, so I blamed you because you were there. I just stared at her. I didn't even feel angry anymore, just hollow. "You ruined my life," I said quietly. "Do you know that? You stole everything from me, my family, my girlfriend, my name. You made me into a monster. You made me afraid to trust anyone again." She was crying, wiping her nose with her sleeve. "I've thought about you every day in here," she whispered. "I hate myself for it. I
Now
can't
you think
sleep.
about me.
Every time I close my eyes, I see your face from that night." "Good," I said flatly. "You should see it. You should never stop seeing it." She looked up then, desperate. "There's something else. My daughter, they never told her the truth," Anne said. "Mom said it would confuse her to change the story. So she still
Nigga,
thinks it."
I would tell that bitch, hey man, I'm not your fucking pappy. Your pappy is a drug dealer and he is gone. You are now gonna stay with grandma. On me, nigga, I'll tell that shit in a heartbeat.
"It's you." I
Fuck, I
stared
look
at her,
like.
stunned. "Even after everything came out?" She nodded weakly. "They said she's too young to understand, and that admitting they were wrong would just open old wounds.
Good.
They'd rather keep the lie than face what they did. She asks about you sometimes," Anne said. "She's seen your photo. Old ones from before everything. She wonders why you never came around." That hit harder than anything else she said. Somewhere out there was a kid, not mine, walking around believing the same lie that destroyed me. I stood up, my chair scraping the floor. A few people turned to look. "You don't get to tell me that," I said. "You don't get to throw that on me now, like it's something I can fix." She reached out a hand, trembling. "I'm sorry, Jackson. I really am. I can't undo it. I just needed you to know." I looked at her, and I felt nothing. Not relief,
Tight.
not closure. Just the end of something. "You took 10 years from me," I said quietly. "I hope you never sleep peacefully again." She was crying hard now, choking on her words. "I deserve it," she said. "All of it." I leaned down slightly, met her eyes one last time. "You do." Then I turned and walked out. The guards didn't say a word as they buzzed the door open. I got into my truck and sat there, hands gripping the wheel, staring at the fence in front of me. I thought I'd feel free after seeing her, like I'd won somehow, but I didn't. There was no victory in it, just exhaustion. Some things don't fix when the truth finally shows up. Some things stay cracked even when you stop caring. But as I started the engine and pulled away, I realized something. Walking away, not forgiving, not exploding, just leaving, that was its own kind of power. For the first time, I didn't feel erased. I felt finished. A year passed after that visit to the prison, and life settled into something that finally made sense.
Hopefully you got
I
a
sold
wife.
my old small house and bought a new decent one just outside the city. 3 bedrooms, fenced yard, nothing fancy, but it was mine. Every
I
wall,
would never went
every
back to that
nail,
town, matter of fact.
paid for with work I earned myself. Then there was Rachel. I met her through one of my clients. She was a graphic designer who came in to redo the company logo. I didn't plan on dating anyone, but she had this calm about her. She didn't ask too many questions about my past, just said, "Whatever it was, you're not that guy anymore." We'd been together a year now. She moved in with her cat, and I got a rescue dog named Edgar. Between the 3 of us, the house finally felt alive. Work, Rachel, Edgar, peace. Then, one morning, an envelope came in the mail with no return address. My stomach tightened. I thought it might be another apology from my family, but when I opened it, the name inside made me stop. David Kenderson. The second man Anne had accused. His handwriting was neat and short, straight to the point. "Mr. Winter, I'm filing a civil case against Anne for defamation and emotional damage. You deserve that justice too.
Oh God.
My lawyer says your testimony would help both of us.
Mm.
If you're interested, call me." I read it twice.
I'll call that
Then
name
I
in a
called him
heartbeat.
that afternoon. We met at a coffee
Hello?
shop the next day. He was around my age, maybe a few years older. He shook my hand like we'd known each other our whole lives. "Feels weird, doesn't it?"
He a
he
real
said.
one.
"Being connected by something that messed us both up?" "Yeah," I said. "But I guess we both survived it." We spent an hour talking through everything. When he asked if I wanted in on the lawsuit, I didn't hesitate. "I'm in," I said. The
Yeah.
case took months, but this time I wasn't running or hiding. I showed up in court, sat across from Anne, and told the truth. Calm, steady, without anger. I didn't even look at them when I spoke. The lawyers laid everything out. The false accusations, the manipulation, the emotional damage, the proof she'd done it twice. When the judge finally ruled, the courtroom went silent. Walking out of that courthouse, I felt lighter than I ever had. My reputation was officially clean, but it was more than that. It was like a ghost had finally stopped following me. For once, my name wasn't buried in shame. It stood next to words like truth, justice, vindication. Then the voicemail came. It was late, almost midnight. I was finishing invoices in my office when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, hometown area code. I almost ignored it, but it went to voicemail, and something made me listen. "Son, it's Dad. I don't know if this
Oh,
number's
fuck,
even
man.
right anymore. Your mother found it online. I don't have much time. The doctors say it's cancer.
Damn, that's
Stage
crazy.
4.
I'm
I don't
almost
want
scared.
anything, I swear. I just want to see you. One last time, before it's too late." The message ended with a long pause, then a shaky breath. "Please, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please, son." I sat there for a minute, staring at the phone. Then I hit play again, and then I deleted it. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, just nothing. I remembered the night he punched.
That's crazy. You punched your son not once, I think twice. I'm not sure. But then he called, or sorry, then he called his mother, and you said you don't want his name to be inside this house. Crazy work. Then on top of all of that, you had hella times to see this nigga, and not once did you ever try. Now that it's all about you again, you want this nigga to come back up there, so now he have to see you when you could have went to go see him. But hell no, crazy as hell.
Me. The look in his eyes. The way he told me I wasn't his son anymore. I remembered sleeping in my car
I forgot
behind the
about that.
gas station, tasting blood and rain. He chose his truth then. I was choosing mine now. I whispered to myself, "They threw me out into the cold once. Now I fix other people's air." That's irony, I guess.
Ooh, boy, that
And
was
peace.
a bar.
They erased me once, but I rebuilt myself. And this
Oh.
time, my story ends on my terms. Steady, quiet, and always north. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash.
Yeah, come the fuck on. Man, hey, he did everything, you feel me? Now a lot of people say, "Oh, you in the wrong for not showing up to your grandpa or your dad's you feel me?" But no. I think he did 100% right, bro. I think he was in the right. Tell me what y'all think inside the comments, bro. If y'all tell me they're dead. Damn. If y'all fucked this video and y'all want some more Reddit stories, make sure I hit that like and that sub button, and we are out. Yep. My bad.